still smell like I would smoke this shit. Like that shit is good, you know what I'm saying? Like it ain't no. Alright, in this video I'm gonna be talking to you guys about how I stopped smoking weed. 5 reasons I stopped smoking weed, how I did it, how it changed my life, and also things that I feel like I lost from not smoking weed anymore. So stay tuned.
What's coming next? It's amazing. You gon' have to guess. Some fly, some fresh. Meanwhile, like, subscribe, and comment.
So yeah, welcome back to another video. On this video, I'm gonna be diving deep on why I stopped smoking weed and, you know, being addicted to weed at an early age. So the first major reason I stopped was that I was addicted to weed, man. Like, you know, like how they say people will be addicted to crack or like cocaine or some shit, and they say you can't be addicted to weed. I was addicted to weed. Like, I started smoking 10th grade in high school. That was probably like 2007 for me, and I pretty much been smoking all the way up until recently. You know, I've been sober now for 1 year and 4 months or something like that. Everyone that smoked knows that feeling of, you know, when you run out of weed. You know, when you run out of weed and you can't get no more and you just fucking pissed off, you get irritated, like you just get mad about dumb shit, you know what I'm saying? Like and I'm already like an impatient person, I'm an Aries, so I'd be upset like if I'm not able to get weed, or if like my weed man don't got no weed or something. I really remember the fiending feeling, like I was fiending it, like I needed it, like I needed to smoke before everything, like I needed to smoke before, like I remember having to smoke before going to work every time, you know, every job I had, I would have to be faded, like before going to sleep, I would have to be faded. I hated that feeling, you know, like not knocking anybody that smoked weed or anything, but it just didn't have a positive effect on me, you know what I'm saying? Like I went through the phase with smoking weed. I went through the motions, man. Like it really had a strong control over me, I could say. Like, you know, like I just had to be high. Like I hated being my sober person, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't, nothing's good if you don't like being your sober person. Like that's your original human, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like if you just hate being sober, like that shit keeps on hate being sober. It's just terrible, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't get to really know who you are. Your sober person, you don't get to live with your person. You know, you actually kind of, I guess you could say you don't really love yourself, because you don't really love yourself in all the ways that, you know what I'm saying? Like being sober, like you don't get to express who you truly are. You just live through this amplified persona per se, you know what I'm saying? So that was #1 reason I stopped, you know, to not be a fiend, like not fiending it, you know what I'm saying? Like it was definitely a process, like that shit is fucking hard. So reason #2 is the feeling healthy. Like I, you know, sick way less often. Like I can't tell you the last time I got sick, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't really get sick. Not that I got sick a lot when I was smoking, but I did always feel low energy, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel just kind of like not as motivated to do things. Although it did make me have a lot more, like I'll be able to think more deeply into stuff. Alright, so the third reason that I stopped smoking weed, my productivity. Like I just wanted to chill, you know. Whenever I had free time, I didn't have to do nothing. I just wanted to kick back, you know, probably play the game or just be faded, you know. I just wanted to hang out and like kick it, you know. I feel like by when I stopped, my productivity got a lot better, you know. I was able to sleep through the night normally again, and not feeling like I had to smoke every fucking night before I went to sleep, which is a terrible feeling, you know. Being so stuck on a substance is just, that's a terrible feeling. Like I never got into hard drugs or anything like that, but I can only imagine how hard it is for people to stop doing all those harsh drugs, you know what I'm saying? Because weed was a big problem for me. Like, if it was any other drug that was more, labeled more addictive, I probably wouldn't be able to stop that shit. Like, weed was hard enough. And who's to say, I'm not saying I'm never gonna smoke again, but just having the ability to say no to it, like, it had control over me for so long, and I always liked it. I used to call people that didn't smoke. I used to think of people that didn't smoke like they wasn't awake or some shit. They wasn't aware, you know what I'm saying? They was still stuck in their everyday to day life, like some squares or something, like I would look at people that didn't smoke like, oh, you don't smoke? Like, this motherfucker's a square. Like, but now that I've been through it and everything, I realize like it takes more ability, more self-control to be able to enjoy your sober personality or your sober person, The fourth reason I stopped was I wanted to be satisfied with my sober self. I felt like I wasn't excited to be sober, like I was excited to be faded or high, so I wanted that feeling back of feeling good, being sober, and learning about who I really am as a sober person and having to deal with all the stuff that I originally used weed for as a crutch, you know what I'm saying? So whenever I would be bored, I would smoke. So I wanted to see what it's like to be bored and just not smoke, because it's a test to yourself, like all these things that you use weed for, like, whenever something happens, something bad, you just smoke to get over it. So I wanted to see how I naturally react to just being upset or being irritated with something. This is number 5. The reason I stopped was just feeling, you can see my skin, you know what I'm saying? My shit clear, you know what I'm saying? Like, skin looking good. Just feel a lot more healthy, you know what I'm saying? Being sober, like, being able to breathe good. Just feeling a lot more lively. Like, my beard is, you know what I'm saying? That shit gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? Like, skin gorgeous. Like, everything feels better, So overall, my experience with weed, it was always a good feeling to be faded, It was always a good feeling to be high. Like, I remember the first time I smoked, man, like, I always told myself I'd never be a person to be, smoking or drinking. A lot of people say that when they're young. I'd be like, man, I'm never gonna do that. But I had a painful childhood, so, it was just overbearing for me, like, during the 10th grade. Like, my mom was overbearing with her strictness, so I just felt like I got to a point where it was nothing else I could do. Like, my mind was just trapped, you feel me? Like, I just felt like I didn't really have no outlet, so I was being more and more vulnerable to outside. So I remember the first time I started smoking weed was, we was kicking it on the block, in the rodeo lanes in the jungles, California, LA, and somebody was like, oh yeah, we about to go smoke. And usually I'll be like, nah man, I ain't gonna do that, and they'd be like, come on man, just do that shit. So this time something happened with my mom. I was going through it, and I just felt like I didn't know what to do. So I was just like, fuck it man, I'm rebelling, at this point. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna just do that shit. So we went, in the jungles, they got these apartments where they have like stairs and stuff in the middle. So I went to Dorsey High School. So, right after school got out, back then it wasn't even kush yet, it was chronic. So, the homie rolled up a blunt with this chronic in there. It's my first time smoking it. So we went in there, we like pass it around. My first time hitting it, me and my homie, it was his first time smoking it too. So we went up in the stairs, we smoked it, and then, I still felt normal, right? I felt normal, and, I'm walking down the block now, we kicking it, they already faded. I'm like, I don't feel nothing. So I keep walking, next thing you know, that shit hit me so hard, bro. I said, whoa! I said, what the fuck is this shit, dog? I started tripping, bro. It's like cracks in the sidewalk. I'm jumping over it, skipping around, like laughing, you know what I'm saying? Like, ice cream truck came. Ice cream truck came. I got some ice cream. I'm looking at them like, oh shit, my mouth is chewing itself. I'm chewing. I'm not even doing this. I'm just tripping the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm faded. Like the next day, I went on the block asking everybody like, damn, like did that really just happen? It felt like a dream. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm asking random ass. Seeing this old Asian dude that was outside that day. I'm like, did you see me walk by here yesterday? Like. Was I tripping? Was I normal? I was just asking a lot of people, like, did that really just happen? Like, you know, I was blown away by what that feeling was like, and that was the first of it for me. You know what I'm saying? After that, that's when my addiction started. I smoke all the time. We was smoking before school. You know what I'm saying? Get the munchies. We would go to 7-Eleven. But you know, it felt really good in those first couple years. So of course it would make me addicted. You know, but weed is just, to me, like, it's like a dirty thing to smoke. I don't know. I'm not talking shit to nobody that smoke, not to say because I would smoke again. Probably, I don't know, you know. That shit just fucking felt so good, you know what I'm saying? And then eventually I became more and more dependent on it. You know, as time went on, years went by, you know, we used to be like getting faded before doing anything, you know, like literally multiple times a day, multiple blunts a day. I was skateboarding a lot back then when I first started, so I would skate before every session, skate after every session. I don't know how much money I spent on weed, man, but it had to be a lot because I was getting faded, you know what I'm saying? And it only been like a year and a half since I stopped, so during that whole time, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was one time where, back in 2014, I stopped for like pretty much like a year, you know? And maybe like 10 months or something like that. It felt like a year though. So that was my first attempt at trying to stop because I felt like I wanted to stop for a minute, you know, like I wanted to just slow down or something, but it was just so hard I couldn't do it. Let's talk about the process. It took a lot of self-discipline, you know what I'm saying? A lot of build up, a lot of talking to your inner self. Like, you gotta be real with yourself and ask yourself, like, am I addicted to this? You know what I'm saying? And then like give yourself a little time, like try to stop or whatever. Basically, I feel like in order to stop smoking weed, you gotta replace it with something, like, cause it's such a fucking good feeling that you don't really want to get rid of that, especially facing your sober self. You know, like that shit is hard. Like facing the real who you are. Like when something happens, like something, let's say, I don't know, maybe you had a job, you lost your job, you know how you get pissed off or some shit. You could just smoke and you would feel better, like, you know, you'd be able to deal with it differently. But not being able to smoke after something like that, and you already used to smoke to deal with problems, whenever a problem come up, and to see how you react to something being sober, it's humbling, to say the least, you know what I'm saying? So what I replaced weed with was actually fitness. Like, when it got really hard for me, like I had withdrawals for like the first few months. Like even right now, like when I smell weed, like I'm gonna go get some weed right now. Hold on. The thing is, right, my girl still smokes weed, so it made me a lot stronger because I have to deal with her smoking weed and smelling it, and it's still to this day, like it's still like a little trigger. Like sometimes I'd be like, damn, I want to hit that, but then I'd be like, nah, I ain't gonna do it, you know. So it's still a process. But I'm gonna get some right now and smell it, and I'm gonna talk to you. All right, so I got this kush right here. I'm gonna smell it to see like if I still, I still feel something about, like I still feel the feeling. So here I go. See, she be smoking that good shit, man. Like it still smell like I would smoke this shit. Like it still feel like that shit is good. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't no, that shit smell good, man. Like when I smell this, I think about like all the feelings, like what being high feel like. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I could smell like, damn, okay, that shit makes you faded. Like, you know what I'm saying? All the feelings of what that addiction is come back. Like, you know what I'm saying? All the feelings of, I'm about to roll it up. Like, I'm about to hit that. You know what I'm saying? It smells. It's just, I feel like, I don't know if you ever really get over like that, damn, I might relapse type shit. Because, like I said, I stopped before and I ended up smoking again. It was one of those things like on Friday, the movie, when he was like, it's Friday, you ain't got nothing to do, you ain't got no job, you ain't got shit to do. You know what I'm saying? It was like one of those situations. It was and I got faded and I ended up relapsing. And then when I relapse, it's not like I'm just gonna stop right again after that. I'm smoking again, I'm back in it right away. Like after that sharp ass first faded feeling again, it'd be so intense, it just draws you in, you know what I'm saying? So I know if I was to ever smoke this shit, like right now, I wouldn't be able to stop right now. Like it would be too much of an intensified reality, you know what I'm saying? So like I feel like there's a stigma with weed that, like it elevates you, which it does. It's called a high for a reason. But I feel like, like when you're younger, before you learn about higher consciousness, or even if you don't know about consciousness and stuff like that, it tends to raise you up, right? But let's say after you start learning more about yourself, and you naturally start to vibrate higher, weed kind of, let's say you don't have any idea what conscious vibrations is and stuff like that. So weed is going to take you to beyond what you know, because you don't know nothing about the higher vibration and stuff. But once you learn about that, you already become you become more aware of your consciousness and things like that. Weed kind of brings you down from that. Like right now, if I was to smoke, it brings me down from what I already know in terms of the consciousness, because it's just at this frequency that it's at. Weed has this frequency that it brings you to. So if you below that, it's gonna feel great because it's bringing you up. But if you already passed that frequency, it's gonna bring you down to that frequency. So it's, I don't know if that's something you can understand, but it's like a deeper thing. So I feel like drugs, even with alcohol, like weed, when I stopped smoking weed, I also slowly stopped drinking, and I like Hennessy, you know what I'm saying? I slowly stopped drinking alcohol. Like now, I kind of barely drink. I take a shot here and there, but I barely drink because I feel like it's the same thing. Like drinking gives you courage. It's like liquid courage, and courage is a certain frequency that operates on. Everything operates on its own frequency. So if, let's say you at the level of love, which is a high frequency on the charts, it'll bring you back down to courage, which is lower. So you'll feel, you feel like you went down when you get drunk or whatever. And yeah, so overall, like I felt like it was good for me to stop smoking weed, because I got more control over my life now. I'm able to, sleep how I want to sleep. I'm able to not fucking fiend that shit, which is a terrible feeling. Just not having it, just being able to say no to something and have that much discipline and control over myself. And I replaced it with something good. something that is fitness, run every day, increase my heart rate. So my lung capacity is different now. I'm just more energized and more like just strong because of it, you know, like I don't get sick. And I feel like all of those things is good enough for me to want to stop, you know what I'm saying? Like, alright, so I did not think this video was going to take so long. So in conclusion, I'm going to wrap it up by telling you what I feel like I lost from quitting and stopping weed. So first thing I feel like I lost that deep, abstract creativity, you know, like that untapped potential in your mind, unlimited thoughts and stuff like that. Another thing I feel like I lost was, you know, that intensified, you know, ultra aura like reality, like, you know what I'm saying, just with music, and you know, it's like an animated type of more intensified thing. I feel like I lost that. But yeah, weed definitely isn't a bad thing. I wouldn't call it bad. It just ain't good for me right now. You know, I don't want to smoke forever in my life. And another thing is, you know, just the fun of smoking. I feel like I lost the fun of smoking. But I gave it up for something good, and I feel good with my decision. And you know, I might start smoking again. You never know, you know. But thanks for watching the video. You know, sorry it took so long. I really went deep into it, and we're gonna wrap it up right here. See y'all next time.
You gon' have to guess something fly, something fresh. Meanwhile, like, subscribe, and comment.